my creatively faithful friends. This is Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. I have my first ever real wrap up for you today. I have not really done those in the past, but it kind of clicked in me last month how I could do these. And the reason I haven't done them in the past is because I typically use mostly library books, and they have to go back before I'm ready to do a wrap up. But I kind of all of a sudden thought about this. Why not just do little clips before I have to turn them in? So that's what I did with one book. The other books don't have to go back until tomorrow, so I needed to film this today. Today is Sunday, May the 4th, and I'm hoping to get this video up tomorrow, May the 5th. So first of all, I want to tell you what I did not read this month, or for the month of April. I did not read Against the Wind, not because I didn't want to. I had a slow reading month this month. So I didn't read Against the Wind, so it'll be going back to the library and probably going on my, if I don't get it on another TBR, the end of this, through the rest of this year, it will go on my 27 in 2027 books for the year next year. I don't know what I'm going to do when we get on up there. I'm just going to say that it will go on my TBR list for next year. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Depends on how I fare by the end of the year. So anyhow, so this Against the Wind, I did not get to it. I had a slow reading month. Not because, I don't know. Yes, I do know. Not because I am in a reading slump or anything like that, but I finally, I've had a bunch of health challenges at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, and I finally have gotten back my crafty mojo. As you probably know, I am a huge crafter. I have another YouTube channel that is my card making channel. I also do creative journaling on this channel. And so I have just been in a crafty mood for the last month and a half. My crafty mojo started flowing back the middle of March. And so, yeah, I just wasn't in a huge reading mood because I was in a crafty mood. I have a problem with combining or doing more than one craft/hobby at a time. That's why I fell off of reading for so long. And then in 2024, when I found BookTube, I just thought, gosh, I really want to get back to reading, and because I love reading, but I just find it hard to focus on more than one thing at a time. So anyhow, I'm working on finding the balance in that. So the other book I did not get to was my 26 in 2026 book, In Love's Time. I am going to definitely try to get to that again before the end of this year. I did not get to When Twilight Breaks by Sarah Sundin, not because I didn't want to read it or anything, just didn't get to it. And then I did not get to this. I'm kind of sad I didn't get to this because this is not a Christian fiction book, but I've heard so many good things about it. I really wanted to read that, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. So anyhow, all of these last few books that I showed you, plus two of the others that I'm going to show you, are going back to the library. So tomorrow. Okay, so the first book that I finished in the month of April was a book that I started in the month of March, and this was Noble by Misu Andrews and Molly from Molly Popplewell, and Buddy read this book together. I absolutely loved this book. I really enjoyed it. I did only give it 4 stars, but the reason I only gave it 4 stars is because it was a little bit slow. It was a little bit slow going and everything, and just it wasn't as exciting to me as the first book, which is called Brave. But if you have not started reading this series, Brave was the first book, and it's about King David's brides, and Noble is the second book. And I think the next book is coming out this year. I'm not so sure, but and I don't know the name of the next book, but I really love Misu Andrews' writing and everything. So this one is between a 4 and 5 stars. Although I don't, in my ratings of things, I don't give half ratings like in my reading journal and stuff. I only do whole ratings. But anyhow, this was really a good book, and I really enjoyed it. And yes, Molly, I still owe you my final thoughts on this book. I will try to get to that this week. It's really been a pretty busy time for me. So, the next book I read is Something Borrowed, and I'm going to tell you, I read the book, the novella in here that was written by Susie Finkbeiner, and it was called A Daffodil in the Dress, and it was about a woman whose husband died in the Vietnam War and a bookstore owner that worked together, and they began to develop a relationship. So it's about their relationship developing. And so I read this book for Katie's from Paperbacks and Ponytails Seuss-a-thon, or yeah, I think that's what it was called, Seuss-a-thon, because it was her little readathon for the month of April. And I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I will probably check it out at the library again sometime so that I can read the first couple stories in here. When I check out a book that's a novella, I don't like reading the whole entire book. If I need a novella for something, I'll check one out that's got several in it. And then if I like them, then I'll check it out again and read another one. So that's what I did with this book. Then the final book I read in the month of April was A Curiosity Keeper by Sarah E. Ladd. It's the first book that I've ever read by this author, and I did enjoy it. It started out pretty good. Again, I gave it 4 stars. Between 4 and 5 stars I would give it if I was going to bump it up. And the reason it wasn't a 5-star for me is because it started out wonderful and then it kind of started dragging. But I really did love it. The main female character is a shopkeeper of her father's shop. She's the shopkeeper, and it's a curiosity shop, kind of like a antique shop the in our day and age. And something goes missing, and they have to try and find it. And she is completely thrown off guard, completely shocked at the twists and turns that develop. So, and actually, I will tell you, that little description right there that I gave you of this book is probably a kind of what has kept me from doing wrap-ups, because I kind of have a tendency to like spill the beans, tell you too much. I don't know how to tell you about the book without telling you, exactly what happened. But anyhow, it was a really good book. And I used this book, did not intend to use this book, but I used this book for Jeanette's at Jane Reed's Christian Readathon prompt for this month, and it had to be about a healthcare worker. And the male main character in here was an apothecary he was an apothecary of the village apothecary, but he was a healer, but not necessarily a doctor. But he did, do doctoring kind of things. He was the doctor at the local school for children, where they stayed at the school, and so anyhow, I did enjoy this book. And then in the next clip, the final clip, you will see my thoughts on, let me back up. So then the other two books I read for the month are my Bible books. I read the Book of John, because Kat's stories, in her biblical retelling and biblical readathon, the word was gospel, and I read the Gospel of John through the month of April. And John only has 21 chapters, so I really like, having a chapter of the Bible to read every day, because that's, if you not familiar, I've said this on my channel before, I started something new this year, and it's called Bible Before Social Media, because I used to get up and I used to wake myself up, it's groggy and everything. I used to just scroll on my phone, or scroll on my computer, or on Facebook, or whatever. That was the very first thing I did in the morning. Now I just kind of wake up and I just kind of sit there for a few minutes and just kind of relax and, try and get woken up. And then once I feel like I'm awake, it was a struggle at first to resist reaching over to pick up my phone. But once I feel like I'm awake enough, I pick up my Bible, and I've been reading a Bible chapter a day. So I like having a chapter to read every single day. So John was only 21 chapters was only covered 21 days. So I Googled what has 9 days of, what book of the Bible has 9 chapters. The only book of the Bible that has 9 chapters is the book of Amos. So I read the book of Amos for the rest of the month. And so that's how I ended out my month. And then the other book that I did try, I attempted so much to read this book because it was very intriguing to me, was called All the Lost Places by Amanda Dykes. That's the next clip in this little video. I really wanted to read that book because, and I might have said this in the clip, I filmed the clip before I had to return it. And so I might have already said this, but I visited Italy and I visited Venice several years ago. And so I was really intrigued and wanting to read that book. It was a dual timeline book, and I connected with one timeline, but I did not connect with the other. It was hard to follow. It was confusing. It was dry. So anyhow, I may try and pick that book up again. I don't know. So anyhow, I did DNF that book. I did give it well over 100 pages. It was somewhere between 100 and 150 pages. And normally I don't give a book that long before I DNF it. So anyhow, so that are my thoughts on the books. You'll see what my further thoughts on the book were, probably the same as what I just told you, except I'm holding up the book. So hello, my creatively faithful friends. This is Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. I am in my little reading room. I wanted to share with you my April wrap-up. Now, I have never done a video wrap-up before because I never thought of doing it this way until today. I don't know why. Today is April the 19th, and so I just never thought of doing this wrap-up until today. So I think you'll see a wrap-up from me from now on. Okay, and the reason I haven't done an in-person wrap-up before is because most of my books are always library books, and I have to return them to the library. So I don't know. I'm baffled that I never thought of this before. So anyhow, I thought, well, why don't I just, even if I'm wearing different clothes or it does not really a cohesive video as far as, goes from beginning to end. I thought, well, I could do little clips of my wrap up for the month. So I finished one book. Let me get that book. And I'll talk about that book next. But I finished one book this month. And then I am soft DNFing another book. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on this book. So this book is Amanda Dykes, All the Lost Places. So this book is a dual timeline book. I did say it was by Amanda Dykes. The first timeline is 1807. A baby was discovered floating in a basket in the canals of Venice, and a gondolier fishes him out of the water and takes him home to a group of people. What that group of people is, we yet to know. And they raised that boy instead of taking him to the orphanage. And then the second timeline is 1904, and it's following a man that goes to Venice on a mission from an employer to do something. I'm not going to say anything else there. So anyhow, I had a really, really tough time getting into this book. The 1807 timeline I found very, very confusing. The writing was in that timeline was very kind of almost like over my head. I don't know why. The 1904 timeline, I was really interested in that timeline. The reason that I wanted to pick this book up is because I love Italy. And when I went to Italy with a friend of mine several years ago, and my favorite city, we went to Venice, Rome, and then Florence. And my favorite city was Venice, of the trip that we took and went. And actually we came back to Venice a second time because that's where we were flying out of. And so that was my favorite city of the three, the main cities that we visited. Then we took a side trip. I don't remember what city it's in. We took actually two side trips. We went to the Pompeii, the ruins of Pompeii, and then we also went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so we went from where we were staying out into those two areas. So anyhow, so I soft DNF'd it because I might like to come back to it, but I was finding myself, I think that's why this month was such a slow reading month. I was finding myself not picking it up at all. And I guess it was just because I wasn't really invested in it. The one thing about this book that I will tell you that I really, really, really dislike in books is when books have short chapters and long chapters. It's okay to have long chapters in a book, but don't have short chapters also. Either do short chapters or do long chapters. Not mixed together. At least that kind of, I just don't like that in a book, So anyhow, so I am soft DNFing it. It needs to go back to the library this week. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and film this clip, and I will be back with you soon as I finish the next book. So anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate you being here and supporting me, and look forward to something exciting coming back starting on Wednesday. That might give you a hint. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.